Pokémon Adventures is filled to the brim with memorable trainers, whether they're adaptations from game characters or simply original characters to fit the story. And in today's video, we'll be talking about which one of these trainers is the strongest. As you can see from the title, I'm only going to be talking about trainers from the first arc, but if this video does well, then I'll be sure to make one on the next arc and the one after that. For this ranking, I'll be keeping in mind how the manga does its battles, which is different from the games and anime, being more like street battles in a way, meaning trainers can come up with plans that include their body, the surrounding area, and any items of clothing they're wearing. With that explained, let's get straight into the ranking. To start things off, we have some honorable mentions, being Kanto's first two gym leaders, Brock and Misty. These two are by no means weak, scaling pretty close if not equal to our number 10 spot, but if they were to battle anyone else on this list, chances are they'd lose. For our number 10 spot, we have the gym leader of Celadon City, Erica. Out of Kanto's 4 gym leaders of Justice, Erica finds herself being stronger than both Brock and Misty, but weaker than Blaine. Her talents are nothing to scoff at, being able to convincingly beat Red in their gym battle, and being the one to lead the charge against Team Rocket, along with the citizens of the other cities. But despite this, she still doesn't rank higher than the next 9 trainers. Speaking of, for trainer number 9, we have Green. Despite being a main character with a Pokédex, and the trainer who came third in the Pokemon League, Green's battling skills aren't all that impressive, constantly getting overpowered by her foes in battle. However, what sets her apart from the other trainers on this list is her brains, being a master at tricking and deceiving her opponents, as seen with Red, Sabrina, and Team Rocket as a whole. But ultimately, these tricks only really help her stall for time or get away, which couldn't be counted as a victory in battle. And as for her team, she only has Pokemon that look cute. Well, except for Blastoise, which acts as her ace. Green's Blastoise can fly around using its water cannons as jets. But for Green's flaws, she has one that's very fatal, and that's her fear of bird Pokemon. As we see with her battle against Dr. O, she was practically unable to battle during this fight. Segueing off of Green's fight with Dr. O, we now have his true identity, Professor O, the champion of the first Pokemon League. To win this championship title, he had to go up against Agatha, who would go on to become a member of the Elite Four. Professor Oak's a veteran trainer that unfortunately in his age has gotten rusty, getting kidnapped by Team Rocket and clearly working up a sweat in his fight against Green. But even in his elderly age, Oak was able to qualify for another league and would have been able to compete in the finals if he didn't bow out, so we can't just ignore that. In number 7, we have our first member of the Team Rocket triad, the gym leader of Vermilion City, Lieutenant Surge. This guy is a master at electricity, having an army of electric Pokemon that all work by his side. For a while, he even had ownership of the legendary Pokemon Zapdos, which along with his electric gear gifted to him by Team Rocket, made him nearly unbeatable. Which now brings us to why Surge doesn't rank any higher than 7th, and that's his tendency to underestimate his opponents, specifically Red. When he first fought the kid, he did away with him nicely, electrocuting him in a cage of Magneton and dropping him into the ocean. However, Red's Poliwhirl evolved into a Poliwrath, allowing him to take down Surge. Losing to a water Pokemon as an electric type gym leader is pretty embarrassing. But what's worse than that is in their rematch, where Surge had literally everything going for him. For example, the stage being an electric cage, and Zapdos' near infinite electric energy charging his Pokemon. The guy even had gear that made him immune to electricity, but somehow he still managed to fumble the bag against the 11-year-old. So for that reason, he's gonna have to remain as the worst of his group. But still, he's the 7th best trainer in Kanto. After Surge, we have Koga, the gym leader of Fuchsia City and also a member of the Team Rocket triad. Unlike Surge, who prefers to have an army of Pokemon, Koga sticks to a few that remain close to him, and I mean that literally, as seen with his Grimer armor. Koga is a very skilled ninja trainer who doesn't mind using underhand tactics such as mind control with Ghastly, or even injecting his Pokemon mid-battle to force an evolution. And with him having Pokemon with unique traits, such as his Arbok that can regenerate his body, and his Golbat that can spire on others with Supersonic, it makes him a genuine threat to deal with. Also, unlike Surge, rather than torturing his opponents, he'll often go straight for the kill, as he tried with Blue. And of course, I have to mention he had the power of Articuno at his fingertips too. However, even he ended up sharing the same fate as Surge, as his main flaw comes from not thinking at a grand enough scale. Both Red and Blue managed to defeat or escape from him many times through the use of their surroundings. So if he decided to become more sure of himself and check his surroundings better, he'd become much more of a stronger trainer. To round off the Team Rocket triad, we have the gym leader of Saffron City, Sabrina, being in my opinion the 5th strongest trainer of Kanto. Sabrina doesn't get much time to shine as the other two, but she's still a force to be reckoned with, with her main talent of course being the psychic powers. Although not as extreme as in the anime, she can still use her powers to bring out people's worst fears, and have her Kadabra disguise itself as a person, luring her opponent's guard. She was also the trainer who commanded the fused form of the legendary birds, but she still lost against the combined power of red, green and blue. Speaking of green, this girl seems to be the perfect counter for Sabrina, as Sabrina's main weakness comes from being overloaded or taunted, as green neatly demonstrated in their battle. But to be fair, this only slowed Sabrina down rather than defeating her. She's a sly and cunning trainer who's not the best out there, but nowhere near the worst, so this makes her perfect for number 5. Leading our final 4, we have Blaine, the ex-scientist of Team Rocket, creator of Mewtwo, and now the final member of the Gym Leaders of Justice. Blaine's traveled a long road in life, going from evil to good, but in the process he's gained strength nearly unrivaled. We don't really get to see Blaine fight all that much during this arc, but out of the 2 times we did see him fight, one of them was against Mewtwo, the literal strongest Pokemon at that point of the series. Blaine was able to break through its Psywave attack and attack the Pokemon directly. This was pretty much a Majin Vegeta sacrifice moment, since it didn't defeat Mewtwo, instead just making it angrier, but if it were to hit any other trainer in Pokemon, it would definitely take them down. Thinking about it now, I think in the whole series, Blaine's only ever won 1 battle. But to be fair, that's because he's always up against the best of the best and nothing less. Now we reach the top 3, with Blue starting us off. Blue is without a doubt a trainer with a lot of natural talent, but also the discipline and hard work to back it up. With his Pokemon being so well trained, they don't even need a trainer to train them. He saved Red multiple times in the series, and was even the one to defeat Koga and Articuno. Eventually, Blue would reach the finals of the Pokemon League where he had to fight against his rival. And for this fight, Blue took everything he had learned from his journey, while combined it with what he'd seen from Red, allowing him to fight at equal footing with his main character rival. Although Blue lost this battle, it's a bit of an if you want to debate, since Blue didn't actually lose all of his Pokemon in the battle. Instead, he and his Charizard both fainted after Red's attack. But the fairness of this battle can be discussed in another video. The only other thing I can say is after this arc, Red will have to watch his back, as Blue won't let him gap him easily. For our second place trainer, we now have the boy from Pallet Town, and champion of Kanto, Red. It must be pretty surprising to see Red not lead the strongest trainer list, but we'll see who took his spot in just a bit. Red is the guy we see the most in this story, watching him grow from an unpolished shard of talent to a highly skilled battling expert. If I had to describe Red's battling style, I'd say it's unorthodox and reactive, being able to catch his opponents off guard and counter them, even when he seems like he's in a no way out situation. And just like with Blue, he also took what he learned from him and added it onto his own skill set. Although you could say Red's greatest strength is his natural talent at battling, I would say his greatest strength comes from his bond with his team. As cliche as it sounds, Red's Pokemon all stay strong and deliver for him when he needs them most. And chances are, it's probably the main reason he got the edge against Blue in the finals. And the same can be said for his gym battle against Giovanni. Speaking of, let's take a look at our number 1 trainer. Being the leader of Team Rocket, gym leader of Viridian City, and number 1 strongest trainer of the first arc, Giovanni. This evil mastermind is a trainer above trainers, and it's no surprise he merely managed to achieve his goals. First of all, this guy isn't just some villain who will battle and defeat the hero. Giovanni will instead toy around with his opponent and try to bring the best out of them, just so he can have a fun fight. Out of the 2 times we see Giovanni fight, once was against 2 Magmars which he ruthlessly killed, and the second was against Red. When he first met Red, he could have easily killed him anytime he wanted, but didn't deem him to be a threat. After Team Rocket's defeat though, Giovanni decides to change gears though, challenging Red at his gym and only keeping him alive so he can force the kid to join Team Rocket. And if you don't believe me, this image clearly proves my point. Other than that, Giovanni is just as battle smart and physically fit as Red, but with even more experience than him, knowing to shatter Red's Pokeballs so he can access his best Pokemon. If you want to say this isn't fair, you have to remember the rule set I gave at the start of the video, being this is a street battle just like in Pokémon Adventures normally. Giovanni purposefully collapsed the gym so that Red would get physically injured and stopped him from using his Pokemon. It's just as Blue's teacher said, a trainer needs to be strong enough to fight alongside their Pokemon themselves, otherwise they'll just be letting them down. You might also be saying that Red defeated Giovanni, and that is true, but we all know this was just because of plot reason, and Pikachu's electric attack somehow being able to bypass ground type Pokemon. But at the end of the day, this is just my opinion, and you may not share it, so comment down below your picks for the top 10 strongest trainers of the first arc, and I'll be catching you all in the next one. Take care.